The Dallas Stars look to match a season-high win streak at 4 tonight against the Los Angeles Kings. It's never too early to discuss potential trades, and we'll play Shooting Star on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars continue their road trip tonight, taking on the Los Angeles Kings for the first time this season, looking to make it 4 wins in a row, which would match a season high that was set right off the rip of this 2024-25 season. If you remember, the Stars did start 4-0 this year. We're also going to discuss potential trades, and this one was sent to me by one of you wonderful listeners of Locked On Stars for Rasmus Andersson. We'll get to that a bit later on and play Shooting Star to wrap up a Wednesday edition, which is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the Kings, led by the ageless wonder Anze Kopitar, who is a certified first ballot Hall of Famer, has led the Kings to a 8-3 start that is good enough for 31 points, and they are second in the Pacific Division behind the Vegas Golden Knights. The Pacific Division has a real hodgepodge of teams right now behind Vegas, and it will be very, very intriguing to see how the rest of the season plays out. But the Kings are off to a good start, and Kopitar has 29 points this season, including 8 goals, and they've done it with some spotty goaltending. You look at some of their numbers in terms of goals for, they're right around middle of the pack. Goals against is where they've been really strong. They're 6th in the NHL. They've surrendered 68 goals this season. And I mentioned the spotty goaltending. David Rittich, their number one, has started in 14 games, has a 9-6-0 record, .887 save percentage, and 2.48 goals against. Their backup, Kemper, who started in 10 games, is 4-2-3, .899 save percentage, and a 2.65 goals against. They've used 4 goaltenders this season, but Rittich and Kemper have been their main 2 so far this season. Of course, they are missing Drew Doughty, who is on the long-term injured reserve. I actually can't wait for him to get back. He's on my fantasy team. I also have one of their young, talented forwards in Alex Lafreniere, which I believe how it is pronounced, but he has 11 goals this season in 25 games. 10 of those goals have come at even strength. He is really, really scorching as of late. But they have a stout defense. They have some young guys on the back end who are turning some heads. Brant Clark and Jordan Spence. Spence came up at the end of last year, and he's a really, really talented, sort of that modern day NHL defenseman, but they still have some veterans mixed in, right? Mikey Anderson's been around the block, Vladislav Gavrikov, Joel Edmondson, who was acquired from Edmonton a few years ago. So they have some bodies, and they are really, really stout up front too. I'll give Los Angeles a lot of credit. Looking at their lines, they have some sneaky depth, the Kings do. I mean, Philip Deneau, Kevin Fiala, and Lafreniere is your third line. Like, that's a really good bottom 6. And they went out and got Warren Foegele in the offseason, along with Tanner Jeannot, who have filled in really nicely alongside Quentin Byfield, who's that really big and strong 22-year-old center iceman. So, man, they have some pieces, and their future looks really bright. I would say they're probably ahead of schedule. I felt coming into this season, I think many people did, that this would be a kind of a wash year for LA, but they are winning games, and they are very, very good at 5-on-5. And when you have players like Kopitar and Kempe and Byfield, you're able to do that. You look at their Corsi 4 percentage, this season at 5-on-5 is 54%. They've outchanced their opponents 541 to 456. So they get good looks, and it's really led by the line of Kopitar and Kempe. They get the job done. They're the two leading scorers, and that's sort of how the beat has gone on for the Kings this season. Now, if you look at some of the head-to-head numbers in this one, penalty kill in favor of the Stars, the Kings are 80% this season. That's right smack dab in the middle of the NHL. They are 25th on the power play at 16%. Stars are just a tick better at 17. So special teams is pretty even. The face-off dots are going to be pretty even. Where they really differ the most is the amount of goals. And the Stars have scored 3.38 goals per game, and LA's at 3.04. And the Stars are coming off a 3-game win streak, and so are the Los Angeles Kings. And they've beat Winnipeg, Anaheim, and Ottawa. So it's another big game within the conference for the Dallas Stars. I believe I'm recording this on Monday night. I want to say St. Louis took down Winnipeg tonight. They did 4-1. So the Stars did get some help from St. Louis. They did not get any help from Vancouver, but they're just 4 points out of first place. We'll make it 6 now with the full 2 points to Minnesota. So it's a big game within the conference, and it's another good test against a team that's really heavy in possession, and we saw that on Monday night in Utah. But the Stars really didn't have their legs. I mean, they have 1 day of rest. We'll see how much that factors in, but you could see Dallas was out of gas on Monday against the hockey club. They should be much better and on their toes a bit more here tonight in LA. And they get a test against a team that's very good at 5-on-5 and controls the puck well, which hasn't always been a huge recipe for success this season for the Stars. And of course, they're without Tyler Seguin. Stankoven is filling in alongside Duchesne and Marchment, which I think is a good line. You know, one of the listeners commented on my video the other day thinking about maybe moving Robo to that line with Duchesne, and I think that's a really good shout. Although I think Roope and Wyatt are starting to get going, I don't know if moving Robo is going to help, but at this point, you need Robo to start finding his scoring touch, and maybe moving him alongside Duchesne, who sort of is driving the play, could be a really, really good fit where Robertson can just sort of be the Tyler Seguin, right? He just needs to get into the slot and find those little soft spots in the defense and just whip shots on net. I think that's a really, really good suggestion and not one I thought about. So shout out to you wonderful Locked On Stars listener, all you everydayers out there. I appreciate that. And you know who you are. I think that's actually a really good suggestion and could help them. And then you could put Stankoven up with, with Roope and Wyatt, and you really wouldn't have any worries about that line. So maybe that is a suggestion to sort of get Robertson going here in the next few weeks. And they need him because with Seguin out, that hurts. And, Stankoven is obviously out with a tweak the other night. Like, he's dealing with something as well. Roope missed a game just this past week. So there are some guys that are dealing with bumps and bruises, as you would expect at this point in the season. So Dallas needs as much of their depth to get going. Anze Kopitar leads that top line for Los Angeles alongside Trevor Moore and Kempe. Byfield, Jeannot, Fogle. That's sort of their big physical forechecking line. That will be the line to keep an eye on tonight and see how the Stars fare against that line for Los Angeles. Matt Dumba could be back in the lineup alongside Miro and Lundqvist, Lindell and Harley and Lyubushkin, of course. The Stars want to be more physical. They have an opportunity to show that tonight against the Kings, who play heavy and they play a pretty physical brand of hockey. You look at their hit numbers this season, they're top 10 in the NHL. So they are not afraid to give it to you. And Miro and Harley going to have their heads on a swivel tonight. They're going to need big games from 4 and 55. Dallas needs to get out of their zone quickly. They need to move the puck quickly and get on the rush. Work, stretch the ice, move it up, headman passes, you name it, stretch passes, change the point of attack, and get in on the rush against Los Angeles. Use their speed to their ability. I think Dallas, just looking on paper, is a much faster team. They need their defense to make that first pass and get Dallas out of their own zone. They can't spend all night defending like they did for the majority of time in Utah. Make Jake Ottinger's life as easy as possible. Of course, we think Jake Ottinger is going to get the nod here this evening. It's a 9 o'clock puck drop. It is a national TV game on TNT, but it is also being broadcasted on Victory Plus, or at least it says it does on the NHL app, which is a great sign because, frankly, I do not want to deal with TNT. I will take Victory Plus all the way home tomorrow night. Should be a really fun matchup, though. Two teams that have been sort of hot here as of late, as I mentioned, both on 3-game winning streak. Stars are 7-3 in their last 10, and the Kings are 6-4. So I think the Stars will get a good test, and Dallas has fared pretty well in Los Angeles recently. Kopitar's 8 points in the last 5 games. Kempe has 3 goals in the last 5 games. Miro, by the way, slowly but surely, he's starting to produce. Got 6 points in the last 5 games. That leads all Stars here over the last week. Should be a fantastic matchup. Cannot wait for this one tonight on the road in Los Angeles. I love the late night West Coast games. Those are always a fantastic time. But keep an eye out on that second line. Byfield, Jeannot, and Fogle. It's a 4-checking line from hell, really, by the Los Angeles Kings. Okay, now it's time to discuss a potential trade option. There was a few scenarios sent to me that I want to touch on, and one of them includes Rasmus Andersson, who's been thrown out there in Stars land really over the past year or so. So let's jump into it in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. It takes 30 seconds. Download it on your smartphone, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Rasmus Andersson. How do the Stars go about acquiring the Calgary Flames defenseman? And this question was sent in to me via X from John Reich. By the way, please reach out to me on the Twitter sphere if you have questions, because sometimes they are fantastic. I'll say 99% of your questions are fantastic, and sometimes they lead to discussions here on Locked On Stars. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I don't know what y'all are thinking, and when this gets brought up, I say, all right, let's do a segment on it, and we can discuss this a bit. But John said he was discussing this with his friends, having a convo with the boys, and he mentioned a couple of trade scenarios. I'll get to the one later because it's not possible now because it pretty much already went through with Minnesota. But the first one was Mavrik Bourque for Rasmus Andersson, which is intriguing for a number of reasons. I'll have to say I would assume I'm speculating here that John is seeing the Stars in a win now mode, which the Stars are in a win now mode. So moving off a young player like Mavrik Bourque to get a defenseman that can solidify the blue line is tasty, right? It's tasty, sort of what the Stars did last season with Chris Tanev. The hard part this season is, and really the miracle of what Jim Nill did last season to get Tanev, was not only the salary retention, but he didn't have to give up a first-round pick for the best defenseman available at the deadline last season. I don't believe the Stars are going to be in the business of getting rid of a first-round pick again this season. They have their 2025, 26, and 27 first-round pick. They don't have a second-round pick in 2025 either. So you're probably not going to give up a first-round pick for Rasmus Andersson. Who knows what the price is going to be for Rasmus Andersson, but really this all depends on where Calgary is at in the next few months too, right? Like Calgary's in a playoff spot, and we've seen teams before that maybe shouldn't be buyers at the deadline and push, sometimes do. So this is all dependent on where Calgary is in the next few months. They're in the second wild card right now with 28 points, and they're only 5 points out of first place in the Pacific Division. I don't see Calgary making a push or being really in the mix by February, but you never know. But let's just say Andersson is on the table. I am not ready to necessarily give up on Mavrik Bourque, and you do not give up on a young prospect like Bourque for Rasmus Andersson. Not for that type of player who could be a rental for you at 28 years of age. Andersson is a good player. I think he would help the Stars. He is on year 5 of 6, so you would get him for another season, but you don't give up on a player like Mavrik Bourque. But I understand where I believe John is coming from on this situation. The Stars are in win now mode. If you have to give up a young talent like Bourque to get somebody like Andersson, you do that. And Bourque would probably be somebody the Flames are interested in, right? A young player up front, maybe even a young defenseman. So you're looking at players like Mavrik Bourque. It could be Ritskovian, who was just called up, right? Arttu Hiru, maybe. Like those are the type of players that maybe the Flames are looking to add. But Mavrik Bourque at 22 years of age, and he's just now playing in his first full season in the NHL, you have to give him time. And he hasn't hit like Wyatt Johnston or Logan Stankoven, but those are sort of anomalies. Like those players do not happen all the time. That's pretty rare in the NHL. It usually takes some of these young players to find their stride. And I think Mavrik is going to be an excellent player. And I think there's another reason why Bourque is young, which means he's cheap. It means he's cheap. And, Andersson is a $4.55 million cap hit, which isn't egregious, but you are paying Dumba now $3.75. Lyubushkin at 3.25 is actually a really good deal for 3 years from what we're seeing from Ilya Lyubushkin this season. But I don't see the Stars moving off from Mavrik Bourque for anybody. I don't care who it is at the trade deadline. And I don't think you do that for Rasmus Andersson. For me, that's a no. You let him develop and continue to play. As much as I would love Rasmus Andersson, I think giving up Andersson for Bourque really wouldn't improve your roster all that much, I think, at the end of the day. And I think Andersson is a really, really good player. I think he would do wonders, but by the time his contract ends, he's going to be 30 years of age. and Dallas's future is too bright. Yes, they are in win now mode, but you're not ready to give up or give away any of your young talented players like Bischel, right? But Ritskovian is Strangus, right? Like Blumel, like that's a type of player I think Calgary would be interested on, right? They're trying to get a little younger and possibly rebuild. I mean, they're paying Huberdeau 10-5 for the next few seasons. Like they need some young, cheap talent. So I think it's a good shout. I would just say the Stars would not be in on that. Maybe a different player for Anderson. I don't know if Anderson would warrant a first round pick, but these things are always fluid. And for the right team that's desperate enough, maybe a first round pick is in play. But I don't think the Stars would have to go that way for Anderson. I think they could find a way to give up somebody probably less of a talent or less of potential than Mavrik Bourque. The other trade he sent out was during, of course, the David Jiricek saga here recently. And of course, he just was moved on to Minnesota for a number of first round picks or just picks in general, and Damian Hunt. And they said Matt Dumba for David Jiricek. I would take that deal in a heartbeat. I'll say that first off. The issue with that would have been, let's say, in a perfect world, let's just say the Jiricek saga is still continuing and Columbus is looking to shop him. I would take that deal in a heartbeat. I would move off of Dumba. I really would. I don't know how the logistics would work with the cap situation and all that because he has been playing in the AHL, but Columbus would not accept that for a few reasons. One of them was they wanted a young player. They wanted a young defenseman, sort of like Jiricek. That was one of the principles of the deal. And I was listening to Elliot Freeman on 32 Thoughts the other day, and he mentioned that they were looking for a player sort of the same caliber as Jiricek, and that was Damian Hunt, which was a young player that's had some NHL time with Minnesota. So they were looking for that type of player. Matt Dumba wouldn't fit that role. I don't think the Stars would be willing to give up the amount of picks, especially with the way they've drafted here over the last few years recently. And I think really the only player you could look at for Dallas is possibly like Bischel. Maybe Kyrou could be thrown in there. Bertucci, who's just 19 years of age, right. Bischel's off limits, of course. The Stars would never shop him. But yeah, the Stars would not be able to give up Dumba from him. I would take it in a heartbeat. I would just sort of end the Matt Dumba experiment here and figure it out. Although I will say it puts you a little thin on the back end, but I think the Stars could find a way. I think they could find a way. If they had to bring up Petrovic, if they had to even work in Bischel into the lineup, it could be a blessing in disguise if they have to get rid of Dumba. But that wasn't sort of the result that Columbus was looking for, and that side they wanted a young defenseman, and Dumba would not fit that. So those are sort of my takes and opinions on the matter. Feel free to share yours in the comments below. But I really appreciate John reaching out to me on Twitter. And if you have questions, please let me know. I would love to answer questions or think about them and give my opinion. Because, as I said, 99% of your questions are fantastic. And sometimes they give me an idea for a segment. I need some things to talk about, and I want this to be as engaging as possible. So shout out to John for reaching out to me on X. I really, really appreciate it. But Rasmus Andersson's on my radar. Do not think I am not in on Rasmus Andersson. I just don't think for Mavrik Bourque at this point in time. Alrighty, let's get into Shooting Star late night West Coast game against the Los Angeles Kings. Let me know yours in the comments below. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash, and you can run your game all season long on PrizePicks. You can take a look at the hockey board and select Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots, Artemi Panarin for more than 1 assist, John Tavares more than 9 faceoffs won, and Brady Tkachuk for more than 5 hits. Those are the types of props you can choose on PrizePicks. You can download the app. I did it. It takes 30 seconds. It's free. It's available on the Google Play and App Store. And not only can you play hockey, you can play soccer, football, baseball. They have literally everything on PrizePicks. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win. We're giving you a fantastic deal. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. As always, on a game day for the Dallas Stars, we play Shooting Star. Please be sure to subscribe. We're almost to 2,500 subscribers. Let's get there before the end of the year. I would appreciate that so much. Be sure to like, be sure to follow, leave us a rating as well for all you audio only listeners. Shooting Star on December the 4th, 2024. Who will I choose tonight for the Dallas Stars? I'm going with Miro Heiskanen. Give me Miro the hero tonight in LA. I feel like he usually has some really strong games on the West Coast, and he's starting to pour it on offensively. I'm thinking a power play goal. I really am. Miro gets on the board. Thinking a big night from number 4. Thought he was a bit sloppy the other night in Utah. I bet he follows it up with a clinic defensively and puts in a show up front, because Dallas is going to need their defensemen to be strong tonight against a heavy and physical Los Angeles Kings side. So I'm going with Miro Heiskanen for my Shooting Star on December the 4th. Cannot wait for tonight's game. You can watch it on TNT. It's available on Max and Victory Plus, which is a great sign. So we will get Josh and Razor. Let me know yours in the comments below, as well as on the YouTube community tab. Appreciate all your participation on that throughout this season. It's been a fantastic season. December is here. The holiday season is in full flight. It's festive. It's jolly. It's fantastic. And we will continue to rock along here on Locked On Stars, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe, like, and comment below. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow to discuss it all and plenty more. So long, Stars fans.